welcome. We are honored today to have the Miss Indian Americas come here for a reunion and be the grand marshals of our parade. I'm going to introduce Arlene Wesley. She was the first Miss Indian America crowned in 1953. She is here today.
Well, the American Indian Days began with the thought of healing between the non-Indians and the American Indians back in the early 1950s.
They called it All American Indian Days, with the Miss Indian America pageant as a focus.
Sheridan was the Indian capital of the world for a while.
When I came in the 60s, All American Indian Days was huge, and it seemed like the grandstand was packed for the coronation.
The parade was full, the town was full. It was great.
The purpose and the role of Miss Indian America was to bridge the gap between the cultures.
And Miss Indian America lives in many other pageants. It has never gone away. It has never passed on or anything.
All American Indian Days and the Miss Indian America pageant came back to Sheridan, if just for one weekend in time.
I was just very emotional going down the street with people yelling, "Welcome home."
This is a sisterhood that has always been here. But now we're together and we can actually see each other and reach out and touch each other.
Who could have thought that it would still live today?
I think the message of Miss Indian America is as valid today as it was 50, 60, 70 years ago, and I suspect will always be. We're all in this world together, and we are all brothers and sisters. And that, to me, is the message of Miss Indian America.
Let me quickly tell you the story, the history of this Miss Indian American project here in Sheridan, Wyoming. Right after World War II, I came back from Europe fighting for freedom and brotherhood of men throughout the world, only to find right here in Sheridan, Wyoming, a town of hatred. They don't like Indians. They have signs on their store doors, no Indians or dogs allowed. After having fought 3 years in Germany, trying to make America a good place to live, I come back to find a place right here in my own Crow country. Hatred, bigotry.
I think some of these situations probably occurred throughout the West. But I mean, it's a reality that Sheridan was one of the cities, but I can't address whether Landover or Riverton or Buffalo. Not everyone in Sheridan was as racist or demeaning or whatever to these people. You can't make everybody fit the same mold.
There's a good man here whose name was Howard Sinclair, but he's a newspaper columnist and goes by the name of Neck Yoke Jones. He was a humanitarian. He didn't go for the hatred thing going on here. Started writing good articles. We better be nice to these original Americans, the original owners of this beautiful land. There was a rodeo going on up on the hill. The time came for the selection of Miss Rodeo queen, Lucy May Yellowmeal, a Crow Indian. She got on her house and wrote in front of the grandstand, and believe it or not, the audience selected her.
Friends, neighbors, it's unanimous by popular acclaim. You've chosen our new rodeo queen, Miss Lucy Yellowmeal.
With that event, the stage was set and the teepee was lighted for a new powwow between Indian and non-Indian.
Lucy came and spoke and talked about what it was like to be a Crow and how it felt to be unwelcomed here in Sheridan.
Within a few months, Lucy's efforts combined with those local citizens like Howard Sinclair changed the mindset of the local populace.
The signs on the doors said no Indians and dogs allowed were taken off, thrown away.
For its success in improving public relations, the town of Sheridan received 2 distinguished awards, one of which Lucy traveled to Washington, D.C. to accept on behalf of Sheridan.
Congratulations.
I am proud to have had in this project to build a better understanding between the white and Indian races. We all hope the goodwill which has been accomplished will last and that we shall work together and make America remain strong and great.
In that time frame, in the 1950s, you have your significant Supreme Court decisions such as Brown versus the Board of Education. So you had an awareness, I think, on a national front of differences in races.
Some town fathers scratch their heads and say, maybe we have an idea here for starting recognition of Indian womanhood.
This Howard Sinclair, he said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to have a Miss Indian America, like they do in Atlantic City. Miss Indian America.
This is where he got the idea to promote peace and friendship and unity and promote tourism for the town of Sheridan.
Every person who worked on this board, and they felt so strongly about Native Americans to share our culture and our heritage.
All Indians took over Sheridan, the Indian hating town, Indians from all over the West came there.
It was a gathering of nations.
There were teepees up at the fairgrounds, and there was so many activities for people to participate in, art shows, athletic competitions, and I just remember the number of Indians that I had never seen before, mostly the Indians from the Northwest, and the beautiful floral beadwork.
The interdenominational church service was a big part of that, and it was a very moving and emotional because it basically blended a lot of faiths together.
We had over 100 girls wanting to be Miss Indian America. It's that popular.
Being Miss Indian America was the most humbling experience I've ever had. To be able to represent Native people all across the nation.
I'm always shocked and amazed at the places Miss Indian Americas have been, and I always think what a great history.
I think it ended in general as finances here in town, here in Sheridan. I think because I know there were always financial difficulties.
I think there was probably a lack of interest of people. They moved it to Bismarck, North Dakota for 5 years. That pageant leased the rights to Miss Indian America, and when that lease was up, the All-American Indian Days Board did not renew the lease with the Bismarck Board, and so the pageant ended.
In the 1980s, there was a real lull in Native participation. Since the mid-2000s, we've had a huge resurgence.
And next we have Vivian Armijo, William Abubi, Michelle Portwood, Sharon Narcombe, Sarah Ann Johnson, Claire Manning, Dina Herrera, Susan Arquita, Melanie Talmadge, Geraldine LeBeau, and Wanda Johnson. Thank you all for coming. We are honored.
it was like, welcome home. We're so glad that you're back. And that meant something that only can be heartfelt. I had several women who came up to me following the parade and said, we missed us. We missed the girls. We missed the celebration. Thank you for making it happen once more. And I thought that, wow, people still remember this.
Look at all that God had created here and all the good that was in people to bring people together here.
From the Minnesota Sioux, 1981, Geraldine Lameau, and 1989-91, Wanda Johnson from the Navajos. Ladies and gentlemen, part of the heritage, part of the tradition that is the Wyoming. Would you please tell them thank you, Miss Indian America Parade.
I am just so thankful for the rodeo planners and for everyone who thought to bring us in, as a part of that, and to understand the history and the impact that Lucy had in terms of her queen position and title. The relays were the most important or the most exciting event, and the fact that the event was first and it got everyone on their feet, it just made me recognize the importance that the non-Indian and the Indian together in a rodeo situation, it works.
When we came back to be the grand marshals of the parade, I really enjoyed being in the parade because it was like I was a celebrity with all these other ladies. We're going in these carriages down the street and people were applauding and welcome back and smiling big and taking pictures, children waving. I really liked that. But the thing that really bothered me about that year was a float that was in the parade came out in burlap loincloths, red paint on the face, multicolored feathers, whooping it up on this trailer.
Are they dressing up like Indians because they love us? Are they doing it because they're making fun of us? That's the question that I have, and it's a conversation that I'd like to have with a person. That's one of the things that I did continually as Miss Indian America.
Miss Indian America pageant was an interracial project, and it was a cooperative venture in public relations and race relations, and certainly is a message as relevant today as it was 60 years ago.
It allowed relationships to develop, friendships to develop. Even to this day, there are many doors that were opened for these young ladies who have been Miss Indian America.
If there were more activities, more events that developed like this over the years, I think we would have a better understanding of one another. Whereas if we don't communicate, we don't have anything like this. There's healing when there's communication, when there's relationships established, and which I think we did in the last few days.
I always think about that quote from Will Rogers, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there.
It doesn't matter what race you are, there is a lot of work to be done, and through this, I think we can make a difference.
We'll just have to see how this plays out. The story of Miss Indian America, the first 2 chapters have already been told. Who knows what the next, 3, 4, 5 chapters will entail.
Still today, I'm 70 years old and I walk into a community and say, oh, she was Miss Indian America. And I say, yeah, 100 years ago. But they still introduce. I'm still Miss Indian America 12. She's still a Miss Indian, forever princess, I guess. But people still say, well, that was quite an honor, wasn't it? And yes, it was.